In this segment, I'll propose a framework for prioritizing customers from most valuable to least valuable. And I'm going to contend that there are only two criteria that you'll need to accomplish this task. The first criteria relates to the potential that each customer has for using products or services in your defined category. And the second criteria relates to the relative market share that your product or service has with each customer. If you can translate the answers to these questions into an individual score for each customer, you will be 99% of the way toward developing an effective targeting strategy. Now, many of you are familiar with third-party sales data. It's available in many of our industries and provides a good macro-level view of the sales and market share information for a given category. In this example, we're looking at light beer sales in Warren County, New Jersey. And one of the first observations we make is that light beer sales vary dramatically by zip code. We see that some zip codes generate $150,000 in sales, while others generate just $20,000 in sales. If we plot the market shares for one of the leading brands in this category, Natural Light, we see a very similar dynamic. Some market shares are as high as 19%, while others are as low as 7%. So now that we have our two key variables in hand, our next step is to convert them into a similar scale so that we can average them together to form a single score for each zip code. And to generate that normalized score, we will divide the value of each variable by the Warren County average, and that's the formula that you see at the bottom of your screen. And if I use zip code number 1 as an example, I will divide its category potential of $20,000 by the average category potential for Warren County of $62,000, and this will generate a normalized score of 0.3. If we then average these scores together, we get that single unified score that we're looking for, and that's what we need in order to prioritize our zip codes from most valuable to least valuable. The following is a picture of the combined results, and we can see that several of the zip codes in the southeastern corner of the county are much more valuable than the zip codes in the northwestern corner of the county. And this is important information to have because it helps to guide the investment decisions that Natural Light will have to make. At the same time, it's important to point out the limitations of this type of third-party data analysis, namely that while it helps us prioritize by zip code, it doesn't shed any light on the distribution outlets within each zip code that are driving those sales. So if we drill down on our most valuable zip code, for example, we would see that sales in the zip code are being driven by 11 different distribution outlets. What we can't see, however, is which of these outlets are the most valuable to Natural Light and which ones are the least. To obtain that level of customer insight, many companies rely on some form of profiling survey. And the best variety include the same two criteria that we use to prioritize our zip codes. Namely, how much potential does this customer have to use products or services in my defined category? And secondly, what relative market share does my product or service enjoy with this customer? When those two criteria are on board, you're off to a pretty good start. But to stay on track, there are a few common profiling biases that you'll want to avoid. The first is asking questions that lack specificity. Details like unit of measure, time period, etc. are important and need to be included. The second is asking questions that are difficult to recall. My soft drink consumption last week is a lot easier for me to recall than my soft drink consumption over the past 12 months. The third is asking sensitive questions that customers may be reluctant to answer honestly. The fourth is asking questions that have nothing to do with either customer potential or market share. This is a customer profiling tool. It is not a market research survey. The fifth is asking too many questions or asking redundant questions. This irritates customers and consumes lots and lots of valuable selling time. And the sixth is asking questions with predefined answer ranges. The arbitrary cut points that we define can lead to abnormal prioritization of customers and major misallocations of resources. If I were advising Natural Light, I would recommend the following questions. The first is how many cases of light beer did you sell last week? The second is how many cases of Natural Light did you sell last week? The first question is a category potential question. And the second is a brand usage question that will enable us to calculate a specific market share for each customer. Both questions are specific, they're easy to recall, non-sensitive, they relate directly to our task of defining category potential and brand share, they're few in number, and finally, they elicit absolute numbers for each answer rather than asking respondents to select from arbitrary ranges. So you've profiled, normalized, and ranked all of your customers in Warren County. What next? Well, the next step would be to define the percentage of cumulative potential within Warren County that natural light has the resources to cover. So in the first column, we're looking at the distribution outlets themselves. These are supermarkets, liquor stores, bars, restaurants, etc. In the middle column, we're looking at the actual profiling score that gives you a combined understanding of their category potential and their share of natural light. And in the right-hand column, we see the cumulative percentage of total potential that each customer represents. So in this case, it looks like a very high level of concentration. The top 14 customers in Warren County are generating just over 80% of the total potential for this particular geography. So in this case, Natural Light would be making a pretty good decision if they chose to focus on only these 14 customers. And the final step is to focus promotional efforts on the most valuable customers in each zip code. So rather than spreading resources evenly across all 11 customers here, we're focusing our resources on the 2 customers who have the greatest potential to move our performance needle. So to summarize, macro-level data exists in many industries to assist in defining customer potential and brand performance. Companies can supplement this data by profiling their customers directly, and this helps to provide more granular insight into the relative value of individual customers. Category potential and customer market share questions should be the foundation of any good profiling survey. And finally, questions should be specific, easy to recall, few in number, non-sensitive. They should relate directly to category potential and brand share. And finally, should avoid the use of answer ranges.